What's up everyone, it's Vivi and welcome back to some more Crash Bandicoot. Now, apparently there was supposed to be a sequel to Twinsanity. Now, there wasn't an official name for that sequel, so let's just call it Twinsanity 2. Keith Webb explained a bunch of things back in 2012 during an interview. During that time, the game was planned on being developed by Traveler's Tales, the same team behind Twinsanity. Keith Webb was the main artist of Twinsanity. Now, Vivendi Universal being the publisher, they had to go through them first. They approached the publisher, but unfortunately they refused it. Seeing as how Twinsanity was considered many's favorite on the PS2, it's really sad to know that the idea was scrapped. What was it supposed to be like? It was supposed to be something crazy actually, something very unique and interesting, something a lot of you would have loved. Now you can find this interview over on Crashmania, the links will be in the description below. Here's the question that was asked back in 2012. Were there any other cancelled projects after Cortex Chaos and Crash Clash Racing? I'll talk about those later. If we were going to get to do a proper sequel to Twinsanity, there was talk going round of doing a new game based on television show premise. Cortex would deliver a new TV and remote control to Crash's house, disguised as a gift. When Crash switched it on, he would have been sucked into various TV shows, and each level would have been a different show, like a Wild West show or a black and white old cartoon. The one that was brainstormed the most was that Crash would get sucked into medical drama, and would involve enemies coming at him with big needles, and rolling through the corridors on hospital beds. I think Rusty Walrus, my favorite character by the way, would have his own cooking show as well, with more crazy chasing action. Here's what I love about Traveler's Tales. When they come up with concepts, you wonder, does this really fit with Crash Bandicoot? But when you get to play the game, you actually love it. After what I've read in the comment section, you guys were very happy with Twinsanity. Is it wrong to say that you guys would have enjoyed this concept as well? Level based off TV shows? It sounds interesting. Now the question is, why did Vivendi refuse the sequel? What, they didn't like the idea? No, I don't think that's the case. It probably has to do with the sales charts for Twinsanity. The global sales, as of today, it's at 640,000 copies. It's a rough estimate according to VG Charts, and this game came out in 2004, a long time ago. As for the reviews, they're pretty okay, 7 on 10 on average, and seeing as how many of you called it the best game on the PS2, we can jump to the conclusion that it was considered a good game. It wasn't bad. After that, the Crash Bandicoot games were handled by Radical Entertainment, and instead of Twinsanity 2, we got Crash of Titans, which is not many's favorites according to the comments. And since the timeline of Twinsanity 2 was unknown, the team had thought, hey, okay, we don't really know the timeline of Twinsanity 2, so let's just come up with a different game. And at that time, many believed that Crash of Titans was a reboot, but actually was considered a standalone sequel. Now, what's the whole deal with Cortex Chaos? That game was also planned after Twinsanity, where Cortex was supposed to go to this mad scientist meeting, and then he got kicked out because he worked with Crash and Twinsanity, and because of that he wanted revenge. In 2006, Keith Webb released some concept art. He mentioned a few things. The first proposal was based on the idea that Cortex had a series of little clones, either humanoid or robotic. He would be able to control them to do several little tasks, such as pick up and throw bombs, collect items, or line up to create a bridge. Bit like Pikmin in some respects, I suppose. The second followed a Rockman Mega Man style idea. Cortex had been kicked out of the Evil Scientist League because of his fraternizing with the cretinous Crash Bandicoot during Twinsanity. The new team of evil doctors, now led by Entropy, were trying to get their revenge on Cortex for some reason or other, and so each of the levels were based around them, Entrance, Entropy, and Bryo and Jin and Oxide, etc. And of course introducing new villains, Dr. Entombed, a huge Egyptian mummy like Pharaoh, Dr. Entertain, a strangled clown like Doctor, and Dr. Entangle, a doctor that had plants growing from him, I think. There were more also, but I don't remember them. Reading all these, there's some cool ideas to work with. It's insane. Now, you know what Keith Webb said about Cortex Chaos? He mentioned his studio he created, Tanuki. He had worked on this game called Go Go Coca-Cola for the DSi. And in 2012, he said if that game had sold enough copies, he hoped that his studio would have turned bigger. With that being done, he would have approached Activision and asked them for rights to make Cortex Chaos. Now, both Twinsanity 2 and Cortex Chaos were planned for unknown consoles. We don't know. And about this whole topic about continuity, Twinsanity taking place after Wrath of Cortex, the iceberg pretty much hinting at being a sequel to Wrath of Cortex, About Baby Cortex and Baby N, he said that time travel could have been explained in Cortex Chaos, and the transition between Crash 3 and Wrath of Cortex would have made more sense if Cortex Chaos was an actual game. I guess there was supposed to be like some behind the scenes. About Crash Clash Racing, Fake Nina, aka Paul Gardner, had said it would take place inside Crash's head, and each track in the game would have been made up of Crash's memories, and each character would have personalized cars, and that pretty much sounds familiar, right? Radical Entertainment picked up the overall idea and made Crash Tag Team Racing, and we can only find this art by Keith Webb, and this was for the original game planned by Traveler's Tales. Last one. Apparently there was supposed to be another Crash Bandicoot game in 2010. Radical Entertainment had planned a new game after Mind Over Mutant, called Crash Landed or I Am Crash Bandicoot. The second one sounds kinda epic, I Am Crash Bandicoot. Now this game was cancelled before officially getting revealed. It was planned to be a reboot, not a sequel. It would have had a new art style with music planned by members of Spiral Mouth, the ones behind the acapella in Twinsanity, which I think many of you guys have adored. Crash was supposed to have a lot more emotion in this game. It was planned for Xbox 360 and PS3. They also had the idea of later porting it to the Wii, and the DS version was also planned. It was 2 years in development. 2 years? It's a shame, right? At that time, Activision acquired Sierra along with their developer, Radical. But apparently, sure the game was 2 years in development, but there wasn't much to show in terms of gameplay. Activision thought it wasn't viable enough financially, so it got scrapped. You can find a bunch of detail on this cancelled game on Crashmania. Like I said before, the link will be in the description below. And apparently, High Impact Games wanted to make a Crash Team Racing remake with the models and style of Crash Landed or I Am Crash Bandicoot. Here's another thing. A press kit for Crash Landed or I Am Crash Bandicoot was planned despite the cancellation. It would feature a demo along with a map of Wumpa Island, and I think they wanted to make this McDonald's deal, a Wumpa burger. I mean, they did have Crash Bandicoot McDonald's commercials back then, right? So yeah. So guys, in the comment section below, tell me which one out of all these cancelled games sounds the most interesting to you. Would you love one of these games to see the light of day? Who would you imagine working on the game? I would lean more towards Vicarious Visions, but like I've said multiple times in the past, I feel like their first priority right now is either Spyro or Crash Team Racing. But in the future, which one do you think Vicarious would pick? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and as usual, I've been Vivi, and thanks for watching.